Today's lesson is lesson 3.3, multiplying rational numbers. In the last lesson, we learned that rational numbers are anything that can be turned into a decimal, but you're lucky today because all we are doing is multiplying fractions today in today's lesson. So no need to worry about decimals or anything else, just fractions. So we need to go back to last year, a few years ago, and recall how to multiply fraction. Honestly, it's the easiest thing you do with a fraction. All you do is multiply across. So for example, 3 times 7, I get 21. 4 times 8, 32. And you have to make sure that you can reduce. If you reduce, you can do it two ways. You can either do it beforehand or you can do it after at the end. This one in particular cannot be reduced, but I'm going to be honest, the easiest way to reduce a fraction is to do it before you even start. Do cross multiply or do your cross products, and I can show you one of those. So here's an example right here. If I look at 9/12 and 4/5, I know that 4 and 12 can be reduced right away. Now you can only reduce crossways like this. You cannot reduce, let's see, hold on, come on. You cannot reduce this way. Okay, that's not okay. You could, if you wanted to, also reduce this fraction and then multiply. That's a way too, but for the most part, when we multiply fractions, we look crossways like this. So I can just tell that 4 and 12 can be reduced. I know each of them, 4 goes into each of them, so I know this divided by 4 is 1, and this divided by 4 is 3. So now those are gone, and now we can multiply across. So we have 9 times 1, which is 9, and we have 3 times 5, which is 15. And again, this one can still be reduced, because if I look this way, I know that 9 and 3 can be reduced by 3. So you could technically do it before, but sometimes it's easier to do afterwards too, depending what's going on. So dividing by 3 for both, so it'd be 3/5. That should be a 5. 3/5 will be the answer. So the biggest thing to do is make sure you reduce and multiply across. Okay, another thing we need to talk about is, let's see if I can get that guy away. There we go. Negative fractions. So I want you to think about a few chapters ago when we talked about negative numbers. So those rules also go along with negative fractions. So if I have a negative half times 6/8, I have a negative and I have a positive fraction. So that really tells you that my answer is going to be a negative. I can look crossways to figure out anything can reduce. 1 and 8, 6 and 2. I can see that 6 and 2 can be reduced by 2. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 6 3 times. Now I can multiply across and I get 3/8, and it's a negative because I'm multiplying a negative and a positive fraction. So another thing you need to be careful of are your negative and positive rules today. Goes along with what we did last week or in the last chapter. And just make sure you're conscious of what you're doing. All right, so you're going to be multiplying just regular little fractions, but you also might be multiplying mixed fractions, and a mixed fraction is a whole number and a fraction put together. And there's steps to do this. Sometimes people just multiply these two things and then they multiply these two things. That is not how you multiply mixed numbers. I have people that try that every single year. That is not how it's done. Now, if you look over to the side here, I have some steps. First thing you're going to do is make an improper fraction. Now, I'm going to go over that with you. Now, to make an improper fraction, you would take 4 times 3 plus 1. So that'd be 12, 13, and then your denominator always stays the same. That would be 3 1/4 in an improper fraction. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. 2 times 2 plus 1. So it'd be 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5/2. Now they can be multiplied. So they have to be in improper fraction form. If you don't write anything down today, you have to make sure you know that. Then you can multiply across and reduce to lowest term. So if I look here, let's see. I'm going to multiply 13. I don't think anything can be reduced, but 13 times 5, I believe, is 65. Let's see. And then over 8. Your answer is in an improper fraction. I prefer as a teacher that your answer is in a mixed number form. Some teachers don't like that. I do, because to me, if I look at 65/8, that means nothing. So I would prefer that you put into mixed number if necessary, and let me recall how to do that again with you. So 65/8 is technically a division problem. 65 would go in the house because, like we always say, top numbers go in the house. And I'm just going to divide. Let's see, 8 goes into 65 8 times. Remember the olden days when you used to have remainders when you divided? Well, That's coming back right now. If you have a remainder, this is your numerator. This is your denominator. Okay, so then you would write an 8 and an 1/8, and that would be your mixed number. So a division problem is a super simple way to find a mixed number. I'm just going to throw out another one again just to make sure. Let's say you have 46 over 6. Let's say that's your improper fraction. Remember, you just do 46 divided by 6. Let's see, it goes in 7 times. I'm left with 42. I get 4 left over. 4 becomes my numerator. 6 becomes my denominator, and I can reduce to 7 and 2/3. So just make sure that you know how to find a mixed number, and vice versa. Find an improper fraction. All right, here's some practice that we can do. If you want to go ahead and try, you can go ahead and try and pause me. But I for sure need you to have a few examples of these in your notebook. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to make an improper fraction. Let's see, 9 times 2 is 18, plus 3, 18, 19, 20, 21. I have 21 over 9 here. Times, let's see, 7 times 3 is 21, 22, 23 here. So I have 23 over 3. I do have some things that can reduce. I can reduce 3 and 21. Let's see, 3 goes into 3 one time. Let's see, 3 goes into 21 7 times. So I would have to take, now I'm done with my reducing. I can't do anything else. So 23 times 7, 14, 15, 16, it'd be a 161 over 9. 9 times 1 is 9. This would be a time where we have to find a mixed number. Goes in 7 times. Okay, let's see. 9 times 7 is 63. 11, 10, 9, 8. My remainder, so this is my numerator, and my denominator. So that's the answer for this one. Okay. All right, now I'm going to do the next one over here. One thing we have not talked about in a while is if you have a whole number, how do you make that a fraction? You automatically put a 1 underneath it. That makes it a fraction. Okay, super simple. Then I'm going to start changing these on the other side to mixed number or improper fraction. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 7 is 31 over 8 times 8 over 1. I have a lot of reducing I can do here. 8 goes into 8 once, 8 goes into 8 once, so I get 31 over 1. You could write it like that or just 31. They both equal the same thing. Okay, here's a few more. I have some negatives thrown in now. So let's see, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9 over 2, negative 9 over 2, times 9, 10. This would be negative 10 over 9. I have a lot of reducing I can do here. I can reduce by 9. Let's see, goes in once, goes in once. I can reduce 2 and 10 by 2, goes in once, goes in 5 times, multiply across. Notice I have 2 negatives that are multiplying by each other, so my answer is going to be positive, and it'd be 5 over 1. All right. Okay, let's go to the next one. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13, so negative 13 over 4, times 2 would be 3 over 2. No reducing this time, which is kind of a bummer. But let's see, 13 times 3 is 39, so it'd be 8. It'd be negative 39 over 8. Got to make a mixed number. See, it goes in 4 times. No, yeah, 4 times. 32. So 4 and 7/8, and this is going to be a negative answer because I multiplied a positive and a negative together. So just be careful on those positives and negatives. Okay, one of the last things I'm going to show you today is having you substitute in fractions and then multiplying. Many of you don't feel like you have to show work. Today, you have to write down what you're doing because you're not going to get the reducing correctly or your signs correct or one of the two. So if you could write down exactly what you're doing. So A would be negative half. B is 2/3. And all you do is multiply across them. So let's see, we can really reduce here. So negative 1/3 would be the answer here. Notice I have negative 2c over here. I can make that a fraction, so negative 2 over 1 times whatever c is, 3 over 4. Multiply across, or I can reduce. Reducing first, like I said, is the simplest thing to do. And I know that 2 can go into 2 once, and I know that 2 can go into 4 twice. And so I'm going to end up here with negative 3 over 2, which in turn would be negative 1 and 1/2. So all I ask is that you write things out completely, that you see what you're doing, and you are careful with your signs. So if you have any questions, let me know tomorrow, and I will talk to you then.